I don't even know where to begin. I really, oh man, I don't know where to start, guys. I really fucking don't. Let's just attempt to start here. Welcome to the Wilbur and Gold Show. I'm your host, Will Dalton, aka Wilbur and Gold. It's Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, and I just watched the newest episode of the Book of Boba Fett, episode 6 to be exact, and holy shit. Holy shit. Like, this is about to be like, so let me just start off by saying this. It is a packed show. We're probably going to be on for the next hour, I would assume. So I will start off by saying, holy spoiler alert. If, obviously we don't have anybody live just yet, but spoiler fucking alert if you're watching this recorded after the fact from the beginning, because there's just spoiler after spoiler after spoiler after spoiler. It's not just one spoiler moment in the where there's a moment or somebody in this latest Book of Boba Fett episode where it's like, all right, it's that, or it's this, then that. It's that, then that, then that, then that. Oh, wait, and then that happened, and then here they came, and then here he comes, and then there's that, and then that's the episode. So spoiler fucking alert if you catch this. But for the rest of us who either don't give a shit about spoilers and you're here to either hear what happened in the latest episode or you've seen it already, holy shit. Like, it's going to be an action-packed show. Not talking about Book of Boba. Well, that was action-packed, but talking about our show right here. We're going to be talking a lot of football, going to be talking the Super Bowl, going to be talking the Bengals, going to be talking the Rams, going to be talking Joe Burrow, going to be talking a lot of things, maybe a little Patrick Mahomes. But we're going to be talking a whole lot of Book of Boba Fett and Star Wars. Jesus Christ. This is basically going to be an initial reaction to what I just witnessed. So much just unfolded in that episode to where, like, I'm afraid I'm going to leave out details or things because it was just so much. It was, like I just said, it wasn't just this one epic moment or one person to show up to where, like, that's all there was, to talk about. It was just one thing and one character and one scene and one throwback and flashback after another. So, without further ado, let's begin. So, I just recently, this past week, got caught up on the Book of Boba Fett. I watched the first 2 episodes when they dropped, and then I didn't unsubscribe. I just didn't resubscribe to Disney Plus. I just didn't update it. So I got behind a little bit, but I knew I would catch up. So I resubscribed and reactivated my subscription last weekend because I wanted to get caught up. And also wanted to finish Bad Batch. I haven't finished Bad Batch and wanted to go through Clone Wars and all that. So I got caught up because I had heard and seen through the grapevines that The Mandalorian came back for episode 5. Which I wasn't sure, and I may have even said it on this show, I wasn't sure if I expected to see The Mandalorian in the Book of Boba Fett. Like, I guess I thought maybe in the back of my head, like, I guess it was a possibility. But I wasn't sure if they would reunite in this show. I kind of, figured, that was what they did in The Mandalorian when Boba Fett and Mando originally met, had a little mission together, and now Boba Fett's going to go do his thing, and Mandalorian, when we come back in season 3, is going to do his thing. Well, we just got thrown into a preview of The Mandalorian season 3, and I can say this now that I've seen it, basically a preview of probably the Ahsoka show, and hell, probably not a preview to Kenobi per se, because these events happen way after Kenobi, because Kenobi's dead at this point, and Vader's dead or Anakin's dead at this point. But we did get a preview of the Kenobi show in the sense of flashbacks, in the sense of what we could see, and in the sense of, all right, they gonna go there. So, God, it's just so much. Like I'm starting to sweat just thinking about how much there is to unpack here. And I'm probably going to miss details and I'm probably going to miss things, but I will come back to it and do some more content, a little more in depth about certain things after the fact. This is just an initial what the fuck and just spit it all out and react to it, I guess you could say. Let me just put these football notes away for a minute because I don't need those right now. So, obviously, episode 5 was no doubt the best episode of the Book of Boba Fett so far. And a lot of people had an issue with how that came to be because Boba Fett wasn't even in that episode. It was all we're reconvening with Din Djarin, Mando, the Mandalorian. And basically seeing what he's up to now that, Grogu, Baby Yoda, is gone with Luke to start training. Well, so we see that, there's different aspects to the Darksaber, or at least that I didn't know, like how, like, I guess it kind of has like its, I don't want to say a mind of its own, but it's like you have to almost be one with it. Because we see that Mando it gets heavier, and then we see that the armorer, the Mandalorian armorer, does survive back on whatever that world was called in season 1 when the Imperials basically came through and took out everybody. She survived, and we learned that you kind of have to be. Which I wonder if that's the case. I don't know if that's the case with lightsabers necessarily. Like I wonder. I don't know that we've seen it up to this point, or at least I haven't seen it up to this point. Maybe it happened in Legends or maybe even some canon, but I didn't see it. Because I guess, obviously when Jedi, I guess is the case for Sith too, when they basically take their Kyber crystal and they're making their lightsaber, they're kind of one with the Kyber crystal. I'm wondering if, I don't know. Like, I don't know if a lightsaber could necessarily get heavier or maybe certain ones with certain Kyber crystals. I don't know, but I thought it was interesting that the Darksaber got heavier for Din Djarin, Mandalorian, as he went on and fought with it because, I guess obviously he's not used to it completely yet, and he's not a Jedi. But I don't know. I don't know if that's specific to the Darksaber or if that's just what. I don't know. I'm going to look at more into that, and I actually think I'm going to do some content on that and maybe do. I'm going to write that down right now. There we go. So yeah, and then so we see what the Mandalorian's been up to in episode 5, or what he is currently up to. He gets a bounty at the beginning of the episode, goes and finds the armor. We find out she survives, and then he goes back to Tatooine. I guess there's a different way to say it. That's the way Beckett called it in Solo, Tatooine or whatever. I don't know how I got on that. ADD. So he goes to, I don't know what her name is, but basically the mechanic that works over there that he worked with in season 2, or maybe that was season 1. I can't remember. Because he thinks that she has a replacement for the Razor Crest that got blown up towards the end of season 2 of Mandalorian. And she whips out an N1 starfighter, Naboo N1 starfighter. So that was a cool little callback to the prequels. And just to hear that engine rev when he gunned it for the first time was just cool. I have a little series that I do, and I'm actually going to drop a new episode. I haven't done an episode in forever a little series on my TikTok called The Best Sounds in Star Wars. That ship will be on it if you see it today. But it's just, there's so many cool little sounds in Star Wars, which is why I started the series, because I've always loved the different sounds in Star Wars and other things. But Star Wars, I don't know, there's just so many unique and specific sounds that are just so satisfying to hear. I don't know if that's just because I'm a Star Wars junkie or if it's just there's so many great sounds in Star Wars. But yeah, to hear that again for the first time since I don't guess we've heard that. I mean, I don't, unless it was, and I'm sure it was at some point or another, unless we heard that sound in the Clone Wars. I haven't gone all the way through Clone Wars yet, so I don't know. But that's the first time I've heard that sound since, I guess, because I don't think those ships weren't, they weren't in Revenge of the Sith. I guess that's the last time I heard that sound since the opening scene to Attack of the Clones, where they fly in, and obviously the bomb, oddly enough, by the bounty hunters, Zam and Jango, on the landing dock there at the beginning of episode 2. So I haven't heard that sound since then. So that was just cool to be able to hear that again. And it just, I get it that in a lot of people's eyes, I feel like a very high percentage of people's eyes, the sequels flopped. I don't see it that way because I tend to see the bigger picture. And now that we're getting more and more Star Wars content and the future is headed in a certain direction for Star Wars, I don't view the sequels as a flop. I don't necessarily view The Last Jedi as a flop. That's just me. That's just my opinion. Did they completely live up to everything that I thought they would be? I would have to say it's an episode by episode basis for me. I don't view it as just the sequels as a whole. Like, I look at it 7, 8, 9. 7 lived up to what I thought it was going to be. Seeing Han and Chewie again, and just again all the little Easter eggs, since it was our first time back in Star Wars, at least on the big screen since 2005, Revenge of the Sith. I would say Force Awakens, and I would say if you asked most people what their favorite of the sequels was, probably Force Awakens, Episode 7, the first one, would be their favorite. Obviously, most people, I'm going to say Episode 8, Last Jedi, is their least favorite. A lot of these people, to the point where they say they hate it. I do not hate any Star Wars movie. It didn't live up to what I was expecting. Obviously, Luke was not what I was expecting, but I've gone on and on about this, and again, like, this is just a matter. I respect people's opinions, all opinions on this. They're, because everybody has a different perspective on anything. Because a lot of people, I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, and a lot of people hate the last couple seasons, but specifically season 8 of Game of Thrones, the final season, and how it ended up. And I'll address that actually, later on. But I actually really liked season 8 of Game of Thrones. It was one of my favorite. The last couple, season 7 and season 8 of Game of Thrones are probably my two of my favorite seasons. I just really liked them. I can't say the same for The Last Jedi and the sequels, but that doesn't mean I didn't like them either. Like, it wasn't quite what I was expecting. Didn't quite live up to what my expectations were. Episode 9 got a little closer. I did not see episode 9 as the disaster that a lot of people see it as. Like, I guess it was just too much. Here's a good comparison. For those of you that have seen Spider-Man No Way Home, I think you'll agree to this. I think, because one complaint that a lot of people have with The Rise of Skywalker Episode 9, the last of the sequels, is that it just tried to cram too much stuff into one movie. It tried to recorrect, I guess, some of the mistakes of Episode 8, The Last Jedi, and it just tried to do too much in one movie. Palpatine's back, and, just there was just a lot going on. I personally didn't have an issue with it. I was fine with it. I was fucking ecstatic to see Palpatine again. I had no problem with, his little spirit hop if you will, to the clone body, and I had no problem with Raylo, if as they call it. I didn't have any problem with any of that. Really, the only major issue I had was episode 9 was in that scene where all the Jedi Force Ghosts basically, or the Jedi spirits basically gang up to beat Palpatine with Rey. I wanted to see the Force Ghosts actually like lined up behind her. And if you go on YouTube, you can see a lot of people who have like made their own edits of what that would have looked like. And it just like, I know there's one specifically that they even changed the music up a little bit, and it just shows what could have been. That was, and by the way, like hearing all their voices, like I wasn't upset. I was just, I guess, yeah, I wanted to see them. Like I wanted to see that. So that was the really only letdown I had of episode 9. Outside of that, like seeing the Death Star again, the second Death Star, and going back to Endor, like I thought it was awesome. Like I loved it. So really the only movie of the sequels that didn't quite live up to what I wanted was episode 8. But I still wasn't like, I didn't hate it. I didn't not like it. Like I just, it wasn't quite what I wanted, but I did not like it either. You can do both. Somebody's, I don't know if you can hear the vacuum out there. Somebody's vacuuming out in the hall, literally right outside my door. So I hope you're not getting a load of that on this mic. But so with Game of Thrones, where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought. So the moral of that story, my original point there. So Rise of Skywalker tried to cram a lot in one movie, tried to correct some things as well along the way. And while I per se did not have an issue with all of that going on, a lot of people did. And a lot of people saw that as a flop because they tried to just do so much in one movie. So I guess you could say it didn't quite work to what a lot of people wanted. Knock my mic over. However, so if that is an example of it not going quite the way everybody wanted it to go, I think Spider-Man No Way Home, the newest one, is an example of an absolute success of putting so many things in one movie. And I think most everybody who's seen it and the Spider-Man fans would absolutely agree with that. That Spider-Man No Way Home absolutely crushed it, and they put so much in. I mean, it was essentially a Spider-Man, at least all the live action anyway, between Tobey's 3 and Andrew's 2. He might be getting a third. We'll see. And then obviously that one being the third of Andrew's or Tom's first 3. We'll see if he does more. It was just like a tribute. I almost felt like that one should have been called Spider-Man Homecoming because it was just, I mean, I understand why they titled it that, but like it was almost like a love letter to just Spider-Man across the board. I mean, they brought all the major villains from each movie back. Obviously the Spider-Man came back, and and I watched, and probably a lot of the diehard Spider-Man fans have seen this by now. They did like a Zoom podcast. They had a moderator, and then they had Tom, Andrew, and Tobey all on there, and basically just talking about their experiences with it. Now that the movie's out, and they can kind of talk about what actually happened, and they're not having to like say like, not basically they didn't have to not spoil anything because this was way after the fact. And just to hear their experiences with it, and just to hear like how rich of an experience it was for them coming back. And one thing that really stood out, and this kind of ties into my point of like putting so many things in one movie, but it actually working and being a success, is like one thing that Andrew said that they didn't, or I know he and probably Tobey feels the same way. They didn't want it to be like just a pop in, hi, and then leave and contribute nothing to the story, almost like a cameo. Like they came in and they played an actual integral point or an integral part in Tom's story. And they also kind of went back, and Tobey was talking about this, and I assume that he was talking specifically about like when they kind of mentioned MJ and like, I don't remember how it got brought up, but like, do you have somebody or this and that? And he was like, yeah, and I knew that was going to be the line because that was always kind of the way they described it in history was like, it's complicated between him and MJ, but they made it clear that they're making it work, which I was happy to hear. So they did a very beautiful mixture and blend of going back and kind of getting a little closure on things, I guess, in their world, Toby and Andrew, but also contributing majorly to Tom's story, whose movie it actually was, but it not being just a little hello cameo and then you're out and not contributing anything. And then obviously Tom's story did not get distracted by, all the villains coming back, which obviously they were part of his story, but you know what I mean? Like Tom's story did not get distracted by Andrew coming back and Toby coming back. It all blended together. So if I hit this mic one more fucking time, it all blended together so well. And I think that's an example of that's how you get cameos and bring back old characters and revisit things from those characters' worlds, but also have them contribute to this original story. And just having so many things wrapped up in one movie, it can either be, a disaster, and that's what Andrew said, is it going to be really good or really bad? And it obviously was really, really good. So that's an example of how you would actually make that work, which, I didn't have a problem with the way Rise of Skywalker. I mean, I think Spider-Man No Way Home killed it more than Rise of Skywalker did as far as putting so many things into one movie and so many, I guess, callbacks and things in one movie, but I digress. So, so anyway, obviously at the end of episode 5, Book of Boba Fett, Mando goes, he meets with Finnick and she, basically says, we need your muscle. We need you to come help us, with this, what we're doing over here in Boba's world. But he says, first, I'm going to go visit a little friend, a little old friend, which obviously and I guess I feel like, I guess I wasn't sure what quite to expect from this next episode, but I did know, I guess, all right, that should mean we're going to see him meet up with Grogu, and I was going to be very disappointed if we didn't get to see that, and I guess it goes back to Boba Fett, and then Mando comes in after the fact, but I was very pleasantly, maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was very happy to see, all right, we're going to go with Mando and get to see the shit go down. But just to see, so when Mando lands on whatever planet that they were on for Grogu's training, and I saw that little as the camera panned down, and you see that little radar spinning. I'm like, I know whose radar that is, and of course you come down and you see it's R2. So that told me, all right, we're gonna see Luke. More likely than not, we're gonna see Luke. I wouldn't think that is just going to be Grogu pop out of the fucking bushes and then say hey to Mando, and then that's it. We don't get to see Luke. So then it goes to the scene where Luke and Grogu are meditating, and the frog jumps by, and it was just such a beautiful. I love seeing Luke raise all the frogs, and then I don't know, like just we're seeing so much more of what Luke actually was. Because again, obviously in 4, it was before he was even a Jedi. But like episode 6, episode 4 was his first, I guess, discovery of who he didn't completely know who he was yet. He didn't know Vader was his daddy. But, 4 was kind of his, I guess, learning, all right, I want to go do this. Then 5 was like his first steps of figuring it out, and then 6 was like his first step into this is what I am. But we never really got to see, and obviously episode 8 and 9 we didn't get to see really. We only saw him way after the fact. It wasn't until obviously outside of his duel with Vader, we didn't really get to see how powerful Luke really was, and even then that was his first steps into becoming really powerful, in my opinion. It wasn't until years after Return of the Jedi that he was really in his prime. Probably, I would say if I had to guess, and this is just my own thoughts on it, Return of the Jedi wasn't Return of the Jedi and his duel with Vader where he beats him, that was only his first step in really seeing his prime and potential. I don't think it wasn't until the years following Return of the Jedi that Luke was really in his prime. And I would say those years for Luke was probably where Anakin was in his prime in Revenge of the Sith, in my opinion. Excuse me. Man, there's just so I'm already halfway winded, and there's so much to talk about. But no, it was obviously super cool to see Luke again. While I thought he looked great in his appearance in The Mandalorian, the finale of season 2. You know, a lot of people had some issues with the animating of his, his face. Obviously, it was Mark Hamill's body, but it was a CGI face to make him look like, prime Luke, like Return of the Jedi Luke. So I was curious to see, all right, because I knew and I had a good feeling after the finale of Mandalorian season 2. Like, I had a feeling we were gonna see, because you can't just there goes Grogu, he's done. Like, obviously. And I feel even more so now, Grogu is going to be part of the future of Star Wars. And he's going to be part of linking, and that's another part I want to, like, I have so many things I want to get off my chest. Like, we are really, in these next steps of Star Wars, like, obviously, all right, the sequels are done. People, for the most part, were disappointed. I'm not one of them. I appreciated them for what they were. 8 didn't quite give me what I thought I was going to get, but I appreciated it for what I got. I had no problem really with 9 outside of, again, I wanted to see the Force Ghost. Other than that, I liked the movie a lot. 7 was my favorite. But a lot of people viewed that little window of Star Wars as a complete and utter failure, where Star Wars as a franchise basically fell on its fucking ass. With enough people feeling that way, I guess in a way it did. Obviously, I still love it to my core, but at the end of the day, the customer's always right. And if most of your audience thinks you're sucking, then you suck right now. Sorry, I mean, just because I still love you doesn't mean you're not sucking. So, the customer's always right in that regard. So I really felt like they picked themselves up, which was a nice little line from Luke, because Luke had a line with Grogu because he was trying to teach him how to basically force jump. And I think Grogu fell, or he was trying to teach him balance and he fell or something like that. And Luke goes, and I don't know if this was on purpose and kind of a response to what a lot of people felt on the sequels, and I guess trying to get back on the good graces of, which obviously I think for the most part they've done, of Star Wars fans. Luke had a line, basically, when you fall, always get back up. And I don't know if they did that on purpose or if it was just a happy coincidence, but just that line, again, coming from Luke, the main character that people were so upset that they felt that the people in charge of the sequels butchered him. We got his face back a little in 9 as a Force Ghost, but they really just felt like they butchered his character in Episode 8. And obviously revived him big time in the finale of The Mandalorian season 2. But I have a good feeling that was intentional, of like, always get back up. So, and Star Wars is getting back up in a big way. So, but yeah, so we get to see Luke again. He looked fantastic. And I was curious, getting back to my point, I was curious to see, like, all right, how are they going to do Luke? Obviously they had Mark Hamill do it, at least his body anyway, CGI face. But, I swear to God, that's the great thing about, you just never know who you're going to see in movies and shows nowadays, because, like, with the technology, and it's only getting better and better all the time, like, you can revive and bring back to life anybody. Like, obviously, we saw him do it with Tarkin. That was really the first time, at least in Star Wars, we saw them really bring somebody back to life was Tarkin in Rogue One, and they did that was just, I love seeing him in that. And then obviously they did it with Leia at the end of Rogue One when they, go to hyperspeed, and here we go, roll credits, and we're at episode 4. But we saw that for the first time in Star Wars on a bringing somebody back to life or de-aging somebody, I guess you could say. But yeah, I was curious to see what they were going to do with Luke moving forward. Like, all right, now that Mark Hamill has had his big moment, and I don't even know that Mark Hamill had anything to do with this recent episode. I'm going to look into that because I'm curious. Like, is he still involved, like, in that way? But are they going to bring in somebody else to play the body of Luke and just continue with a CGI face? Or are they going to get somebody who, that guy Stan, his last name's Stan, the guy, whatever his name is, a lot of people have wanted him to be Luke because he looks kind of similar face as Luke. So I'm going to look into how they did that. But they made him, he looked great. He really did. He looked just like he just stepped out of Return of the Jedi. He looked so good, even better than how he looked, in my opinion, in the Mandalorian finale. So we see that they're training, and then a moment that I've seen a lot of Star Wars creators speculate, like, where is Grogu from? Like, where did he come from? Obviously, he's Force sensitive. Obviously, he's the same species as Yoda. But where did he come from? And there has been a lot of speculation that he was, in fact, at the Jedi Temple, or he did survive Order 66 somehow, some way, whether it was, somehow he was hidden or what. But a lot of people have wondered if he was at the Jedi Temple during that, obviously, when Anakin and the 501st fucked up the joint over at the temple in Revenge of the Sith. And so when Luke is asking Grogu, like, where are you from? Or not where you're from. Well, do you remember where you're from? I was, in the back of my head, I'm going, please show us. Please show us. Please show us. So then when he puts his hand, on his head, basically to jigger his brain and help him remember, and then obviously, when, that's stereotypical when you're dreaming, or, the waves come over the screen. I'm like, here it comes. Here it comes. And then we see a flashback to Grogu in a dark room with a very familiar dark blue shade. And we see the reflections on his eyes of blaster fire and lightsabers. And I know the sound of those blasters. That's clone trooper blasters. And sure enough, we see it. Clone troopers cutting down, or not cutting down, but mowing down Jedi. And sure enough, we see that Grogu was, in fact, in the Jedi Temple at the time of Order 66. We see what he sees. And I thought for a split second we were going to see Anakin. I thought that Anakin was going to come through behind the clones, and I thought we were going to get a glimpse of Anakin, and that would have been so, at least to me, and I think to most people, I don't think anybody expected to see Anakin in this episode. They might have thought Luke, but because obviously we know Hayden Christensen, who played Anakin Vader in Attack of the Clones in the prequels, he's coming for Kenobi, and he's going to be in the Ahsoka show, which I'm even more excited for the Ahsoka show now after this. We'll get there. I told you there's a lot to unpack here. We may not even talk any football this hour. So I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my God, Hayden Christensen is about to just pop in here and stun everybody. Like, he's about to show up and nobody saw this shit coming. Obviously, that didn't happen. The vision continued. The Jedi are fighting the clone troopers, and then we get really cool shots of the clone troopers, seeing them in live action again for the first time in Star Wars canon. Obviously, we've seen them in the Bad Batch and the Clone Wars. We haven't seen a live action clone trooper. We haven't seen a live action clone trooper in a canon, someone that wasn't a fan fiction, since Revenge of the Sith. So, God, it was so cool to see that. Oh, God, just the possibilities for what we're about to see in either Kenobi or Ahsoka when Hayden comes, when Anakin comes, when Vader comes back. Oh, and this is why Star Wars, I don't care what the haters say, I don't care what anybody says, Star Wars is headed in such a good direction. You can say what you want about Kathleen Kennedy, you can say what you want about this new Star Hotel or whatever the fuck that Disney's doing, how overpriced it is and how a lot of it isn't even Star Wars-y, it just looks space-y. I don't give a shit about any of that. The content of Star Wars is headed in such a rich direction. They are going to I think they're going to give life to the sequels. And I don't mean that in the sense that, oh, we got to validate what we did over here. I don't mean like that. I mean, they're going to kind of fix the sequels and make them a little better for the fans in the sense that they are really going to show us and link us to what happened in that little span of time between Return of the Jedi and then obviously The Force Awakens. So I really think that's beautifully going to be bridged, and that's going to revive the sequels in a way and kind of make them a little better. But you're already seeing the beginning and the birth of the Jedi Temple that Luke built that was destroyed by Ben, Kylo Ren. So now the question is, was Grogu over there? Like, did he survive that? Like, did Kylo Ren kill Grogu? Is that about to happen later down the road? The possibilities now for Adam Driver to come back and us to see us to see Ben Solo and Kylo Ren and all of that, obviously that's on that's way out in the future. Right now we're in this little, Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, all that period, but it will directly link to that time because it's coming. So the future of Star Wars and the content, what Star Wars always was, the movies, the content, it's headed in such a good direction. And I feel so, even more so today, like obviously The Mandalorian helped revive it. I think The Bad Batch was great. But it just, and I'll go here because this has been on my mind too. Like a lot of people have been complaining about how the Book of Boba Fett, it's been kind of a slow start. We went back and we saw basically how Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc pit. What happened? He gets taken hostage by the Sand People originally, and then they basically see what a fucking stud he is, and they're like, you know what? You're in our clan now. And then they get slaughtered, and we basically get caught up. What's Boba Fett been up to since he came out of the Sarlacc pit? How did he survive? And then what the hell happened? And then we see, all of that groundwork get kind of caught up. He meets with Fennec. They do their thing. Then obviously we know what happens in Mandalorian season 2. And now we're officially caught up. And so I say all that to say this. With a new show, it takes time because I felt like The Mandalorian was a slow start. Like I don't know how you feel about that, but I know for me, like I felt like The Mandalorian was. I'm not saying I didn't like it, but it was a slow start. And the times that I have gone back and restarted The Mandalorian, it's always kind of like, all right, let's get to the good stuff here. Like I still watch it because I want to watch it all, but like I'm like, all right, let's get to the good stuff here. Like it takes a little time to set the groundwork, the foundation, to introduce a brand new character that we know nothing about, all the other characters that we know nothing about. But man, as we know, once it gets going, The Mandalorian is killing it. I'm not going to say killed it because like it's still going. They got season 3 to look forward to. It's killing it. The back half of season 1, great. Season 2 as a whole, fantastic, even more so. And I knew, and I remember I said this when The Mandalorian was really starting to get hot and pop off, and people were loving it, because I was curious to see how I was going to do, because it's again completely new. Who is this guy? When I saw how well The Mandalorian popped off, I'm thinking, and then we found out. I don't remember if I said this after we found out there would be a Boba Fett show, or because remember back in the day when we first learned that they were going to be making all these I guess, standalone Star Wars movies like Rogue One, and then we saw Solo. I'm curious to see if they're going to make another one, because I think there were supposed to be 3 standalones, if I remember right. And I think a lot of people thought that third one was either going to be a Kenobi movie or a Boba Fett movie. Well, now we got a Kenobi show. It's going to be 1 standalone season. It's going to be epic. And then we've got, obviously, the Boba Fett show that will probably be multiple seasons. But I just remember thinking, like, if The Mandalorian popped off this way, somebody we knew nothing about and people are loving it this much, how do you think Boba Fett, that notorious and just badass bounty hunter that everybody loves, that had like 2 lines in the originals, how do you think his show's going to go? And a lot of people don't like how that they've kind of turned Boba Fett from a quiet assassin to, I guess, a more noble guy. But to that, I would say, at least in movies anyway, he never said anything. Like, we knew nothing about Boba Fett. And as we're getting kind of caught up, he's like, I don't want to live that life anymore. I don't want to work for people that don't give a shit about me, that are probably making dumb mistakes and sending me to places I don't need to go. I'm going to run this now. I want to provide for others and give them a better way to do this. So I don't have a problem with how they're doing it. I mean, I think Boba Fett's still as badass as he ever was, but turns out he actually has some morals, which I think is fine. But I say all that to say, a lot of people were a little, I guess, thought it was a little slow to start Boba Fett, but to that I would say it always takes a long time. Not necessarily a long time, but it takes a little time to set the groundwork. And we had, we got caught up to what's up. We kind of linked the gap between Boba Fett coming out of the Sarlacc pit to the Mandalorian meetup, and then we're set, we're caught up. Here we go. It's showtime. And I knew, just because I knew how Mandalorian went, that once we got caught up and got the background and everything kind of set and the plot set, I knew it's game time now. And as you're seeing, the last 2 episodes of the show, and a lot of people are like, Boba Fett wasn't even. Don't worry. Don't you worry. I'm telling you, this show is going to be fucking fantastic. I'm telling you, the foundation's set. We're all caught up with what Boba Fett's been up to, and now it's time for the good shit to start. And it's been epic these last 2 episodes. And now, to get even more, and we've been talking, or I've been talking. Hopefully, I'm not boring you, but it's just insane what's been going on. So obviously that's Luke and Grogu and all that. We got to see where Grogu was, in fact, in the Jedi Temple during Order 66. We don't know how he survived, and I'm wondering if we will see that, because I'm very curious, like, all right, well, will we see, like, why he survived, or, like, did they just see it was a baby and they left him? Did Anakin see him in leaving? Like, did Anakin know who Grogu was? Like, I'm very curious about that. So then we get to see the Marshal again, the guy who originally had the Boba Fett armor. We get caught up with him. And then, and again, I feel like I'm leaving certain things out, so I'll dive deeper on this and make specific content about these things later on, but this is just a fucking unload of what's on my head right minute about this. So then we meet up with the Marshal. We see Ahsoka. She's there. So we now know that Ahsoka and Luke they know each other, which I don't know if they had met yet when she sent Mando to Luke about Grogu, but now they are together. I don't know, I guess she was there kind of helping. I always forget that Ahsoka is older than Luke, because she was Anakin's apprentice. Luke's Anakin's son, and so technically Ahsoka is I don't know, I want to say wiser, but like she's technically the more veteran of the two here. But so we see Ahsoka, and now we got some groundwork of what the Ahsoka show could look like, which I'm super excited about that. Because I just feel like now the possibilities are just so endless for this thing, man. For the Ahsoka show, for the Kenobi show. Like, it's so endless. Like, I feel like we're going to see some flashbacks of Anakin and Ahsoka in the Clone Wars because Hayden's going to be in that show. And as I've already said multiple times on this channel, you know, I'm not saying we won't see some flash of Vader and maybe the Ahsoka show too, but I'm so curious. Has Ahsoka, and now even more so, because up to this point, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, all right, does Ahsoka even know that Vader, that Anakin came back to the light before he died? Like, does she know that his Force ghost is out there flying around somewhere? Does she know that? Have they met yet? And I was always of the mindset that based on how she was talking about, you know, when she was basically saying Grogu's too old to start the training, the same thing they told Anakin when he started the training in Phantom Menace. I actually watched that movie last night. Never gets old. She said with a lot of remorse in her eyes, like, I've seen what anger and fear and starting the training at such an old age or late age can do to even the most powerful and even the best of Jedi, referring to Anakin. And the way she said it made her look as if she doesn't know that he's back to the light. She hasn't convened with his Force ghost yet. And so my theory is that we are going to see this epic reunion of Ahsoka and Anakin's Force ghost in the Ahsoka show. Now I'm slightly curious now, like, does Ahsoka know that, like, does she know? Because she's with Luke. And obviously Luke saw Anakin's Force ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi. So could Luke have told her, like, has she already met with Anakin's Force ghost? So I'm just, again, like, I'm so curious. The possibilities are endless. But yeah. So we saw Ahsoka. Got a little bit of a groundwork on, like, what the Ahsoka show could be like. I mean, we already kind of had some of that anyway, because she's obviously going to be going after Grand Admiral Thrawn, wherever he is. There's a chance we're going to see Ezra again and see what happened with him. First time seeing him in live action. And then obviously, you know, Luke, when she left, was like, all right, well, I'm never going to see you again. And I forget what Ahsoka said to that, but it basically implied, like, we'll talk. We'll be around. So it's like I said, the possibilities are just so endless for all these shows and people who are going to be showing up. You know, obviously The Mandalorian is playing a big role now in the Book of Boba Fett. So you just don't know who the hell. I didn't expect to see Grogu in the Book of Boba Fett. Like, I didn't expect to see in a lot of these things. So let's go over to the Marshal. And, you know, Mandalorian comes and basically is trying to get his muscle and a garrison from him and a little army of his to come help with Boba Fett's mission that is still in the works. And then it happens. This is the one, a lot of this shit I didn't expect to see today. But I got to be honest, when Cad Bane came walking on that horizon, if you told me that I was going to see Cad Bane in that is, of all the things that I thought I might see on today's episode of the Book of Boba Fett, let me assure you, Cad Bane making his live action debut in Star Wars was not even close to that list. And the crazy thing is, you know, because obviously Mando asked for the help. Marshall says, I'll see what I can do. Mando leaves. Marshall turns, and you see that, you know the heat waves coming up on the horizon, and we see just one man walking. And I don't know what it is. Maybe my Star Wars spidey sense is just this in tune. But as soon as I saw that, I mean, he's way off in the distance. You don't necessarily even see the hat yet. As soon as I saw that, I knew it right then and there. I said, that's Cad Bane. And I literally, as I'm watching it on my iPad, I'm sitting there saying, is that who I think it is? Is that who I think it is? Tell me that is not who I think it is. And as he gets closer, we see the hat. And sure enough, Cad Bane, there the fuck he is. And now he is going to be basically probably the arch nemesis for Boba Fett and his crew. And it's going to be an epic showdown. And it just... Cad Bane. I'm just being thrown one thing after another. I get to see R2-D2. I get to see Luke and Grogu training. I get to see that Grogu was at the Jedi Temple in a flashback. I get to see Ahsoka. And now I get Cad Bane thrown at me. So they have a little showdown. He kills the deputy, I assume. And we'll see if Marshall's dead or not, because he shot him and then walked off and basically said, as long as my spices. So we find out that Cad Bane is, I assume, is the guy in charge of the syndicate that's been running the spice through and terrorizing everybody in fucking Mos Eisley or Mos Espa or whatever the fuck on Tatooine. So now we come to the final moment. We come back to, because obviously Mando gave the armor, the Beskar armor that he made for Grogu, to Ahsoka to give to Luke, to give to him. So we see Luke and Grogu in one of those huts, same as the ones he made on Ahch-To in episode 8 and 9. I think they were meditating. And so then the unthinkable happens. So Luke pulls out the armor, says, Mandalorian wanted you to have this. Lays it out. And I guess just as Grogu's about to grab it, Luke goes, but wait, there's more. And he pulls out a box. I didn't know what the hell was in this box. Didn't much think about it. I'm like, all right, what's in there? And he pulls out Yoda's lightsaber. Yoda's lightsaber. For Grogu. Nat, get out of here. It's on my fucking... Oh, piece of dust. He pulls out Yoda's lightsaber. I didn't know what was going to be in that box, and he pulls out a little hilt. And I'm thinking, oh, I know whose lightsaber that is. And of course, he ignites it. It is Yoda's lightsaber, that beautiful little green blade. And basically says, very Matrix, red, blue, or red pill, blue pill style. Pick one. Do you want to be a Jedi and be the new wielder, the next Yoda, essentially? Or you can, it's fine, no heart, no judge. Or you can take the Beskar armor and basically go live with Mandalorian and forego the way of the Jedi, because you can't have the attachment with the Jedi. And obviously Luke knows this better than any, because his daddy had some of those same issues, and we saw how that turned out. He pulled out Yoda's lightsaber. And it was at that moment that I realized Grogu was going to be a big part of the future of Star Wars. And it was good enough when, like, Luke was telling Grogu about Yoda and how he talked in riddles and, found someone you have, I would say. Like, that was probably a terrible Yoda imitation. It just, fuck. So here we fucking are. And then obviously that was it. And Grogu's basically left to decide. I think he will take the lightsaber. Just a hunch. But a little part of me in the back of my head is wondering, like, he might not. Like, what if they've been hyping up all this, like, Grogu's going to be the next Yoda stuff, and only to heighten the reaction when he doesn't choose that way, and then that's that, and Luke's that I don't know. The motherfucker brought out Luke's lightsaber, clearly indicating that either one of two things happened. This one was my initial reaction. Luke went and found it. because obviously Yoda lost his saber when he was battling Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith in the Senate chamber. And then obviously, they got it knocked out of his hand. Little lightning showdown. Bada boom, bada bing. Yoda goes into exile. So I'm sitting there, and no. And then obviously there was the second thought was, all right, Yoda went and he found it and he picked it up and he went on about his business. And Yoda had that lightsaber locked away all these years and we just didn't know. Because, I guess technically speaking, there was no reason to ever assume that Yoda didn't just go pick the fuck his lightsaber up. It just didn't show it. And I guess that, we never saw Yoda with a lightsaber again. So we just naturally assumed, and that just implied, all right, well, he lost his saber and that was that. But there's no reason to expect that he didn't just go pick it up and just lock it away. And either one, Luke came across it, after Yoda died, or Yoda maybe showed it to him. I don't know. But all things that I would like to dive deeper into. But Yoda's lightsaber, man. Yoda's fucking lightsaber for Grogu. So, as I said earlier, the future of Star Wars is going in such a great direction. Because this episode just showed, this fucker, they can do it. As long as Jon Favreau is at the helm, obviously Ron Howard's daughter, Bryce, is directing these episodes for the most part, or all of them. She had a hand in The Mandalorian as well. So she's obviously doing a great job. But as long as Favreau is in it, and I guess from what we've seen in The Mandalorian and Boba Fett, is if Bryce Dallas Howard continues to really show that she understands the Star Wars story, something that a lot of people did not think that the directors of the sequels and a lot of the people that have taken over Star Wars as a franchise, a lot of people don't feel they understand the Star Wars story to its the way that we do. It just all the things, and I'll wrap up with this. We'll talk some football another time. Super Bowl is still a week and a half away, so we got plenty of time to get into that. And Joey fucking Ice. It just goes to show, that was the most packed piece of it was just so packed. And I don't know if it was just the quantity of the different callbacks and characters that we haven't seen in a while, or if it was just the unexpectedness of, because it is the Boba Fett show. We knew that the Mando was going to see Grogu, but all right, there's Grogu and Luke training. We kind of sort of predicted that one just based on the end of the last episode. But we see Grogu was, in fact, in the Jedi Temple, and we get to see a flashback to the Jedi Temple, which tells me there's a good chance we could see a flashback of Anakin mowing down Jedi or his emotions and what he's going through as he's doing that despicable act that is so out of character for who he's been his entire life up to that point. And, when he marches on the temple, we might get to actually see that either in Kenobi or Ahsoka. We might get to see a flashback of Anakin and Ahsoka together in the Clone Wars. More likely to see that one probably in Ahsoka, but maybe Kenobi too. You never know. Might get to see them together in the Clone Wars in Kenobi. We've never seen Anakin during the Clone Wars, or at least, I guess, the Clone Wars version of Anakin's character in live action. We've only, we saw him at the beginning and we saw him at the end in, Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. We never got to see him in the mix there, in Clone Wars outside of the actual Clone Wars show, animated. And who the hell knows where this thing with Luke and Grogu was going. And that to me opens the door of possibility that, all right, we might get to see a young Ben Solo, a young Kylo Ren, because they're built, this is the start of the temple. We're gonna see, was Grogu there when Hey, he survived the fall of the Jedi Temple. Like, was he there during the fall of Luke's temple? Which would be weird in a way to go 2 for 2 like that. But like, are we? And to me, just show we can see these things that we speculate about. Like, we might in fact get to see Kylo Ren again. We might in fact get to see Ben Solo come. Like, obviously that wasn't till. I mean, I guess Kylo Ren's in his early to mid 20s, maybe even late at the time of Force Awakens. So we could. I mean, do we see Han Solo? Do we see Han? There's one for you that I really hadn't thought about much till now. Are we going to see Han Solo in this thing? Like, is I don't know the actor's name that played Solo in Solo. A lot of people didn't care for his portrayal of Solo. I thought he hit the nail right on the head, and I loved him in that movie. Are we going to see him show up? Like, are we going to get to see him and Leia in the birth of Ben Solo? Like, it just, the possibilities just between CGI and all these things, like, it's just so wide open, and it just, you don't know what's coming, but God, the possibilities are endless. And to that point, I do think we're going to see this window that we're in right now of the years following the originals, the years following, the fall of the Empire and after Return of the Jedi, and we're going to see it link probably so seamlessly to Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and I think it's going to really help fix or revive, or I guess make a little better, however you want to describe it, however you feel about the sequels. Again, I'm fine with them for the most part. I liked them pretty much for the most part. Just a little disappointed in Episode 8, but didn't not like it, if that makes sense. Still appreciated it for what we got. I think it's going to link so great to Episode 7 and just these events of over these years, the 30 years following, the 30-year window, I guess, between 6 and 7. What the hell happened in that? So, like I said, final word I'll say is just the future of Star Wars. A lot of people might still be pushing back on that, but I think those of us who are really paying attention can see, and I'm not talking about the content, the movies. I'm not talking about the stuff going on in Disney World. I'm not talking about that overpriced hotel experience or whatever. The content, the shows, the movies, what Star Wars has always been, the movies, the shows, the content. It's headed in such a good direction. And they're really, as Luke said, and I wonder, again, like, I really feel like it was intentional. He said, when you fall, always get back up. And I feel like Star Wars has been just getting back up in a big way with The Mandalorian and now Book of Boba Fett. And it's only going to get, like, I hope you guys understand how epic Kenobi is going to be, how epic Hayden Christensen being in Ahsoka is going to be. Like, it just, and beyond. And so, potentially seeing Kylo Ren again and Ben Solo, or Han Solo and Leia and the birth of Ben Solo in the Book of Boba. It's going to be something else to watch. And so I hope you're as excited as I am. I know I spit so much at you this episode, but I was already planning to get on today around at 11, and I realized that the new episode of Boba Fett was out literally like an hour and a half before. So I was like, well, I'm watching that because I'm all caught up. And it just, and guys, when I tell you Cad fucking Bane. Oh God. It's about to be a good ass fucking show. I'm telling you. Took a little time, had to get caught up, had to figure out how Boba Fett got out of Sarlacc and how he got to where he got with Fennec and then meeting Mandalorian. But we're caught up. We've laid the groundwork, brought in the characters. More characters just keep coming. We're set. We're ready. And I feel like this episode, because obviously we got met up with the Mandalorian last episode. I felt like this was going to be the first episode that we get thrown into, all right, what's going on for the bulk of this show, at least this season anyway. And boy, I'm telling you, we got a show. We got a show. So that is going to be it. I'm going to be streaming on my Twitch, wilberandgold, over around 2 o'clock. I'm going to get on there for about an hour or so. hour to 2 hours because I've been wanting to get my stream going. I'm going to hop on there. Definitely going to be some Star Wars gameplay. Don't know specifically what. Might play a little Battlefront. Might do a little Fallen Order today, but there's either going to be Battlefront, Fallen Order, or both. I'm going to play. I've been kind of getting a lot of my old games together. My PS2, my PS3, and I've been getting kind of my old vintage games together, and I want to start streaming some gameplay because I don't think enough people do stuff. Like, I feel like obviously there's a shit ton of Fortnite. There's, obviously a lot of Warzone. There's all the games that are popping right now, but like, I would like to see literally, I might just go on and hit the Wii Tennis for like a half hour one day and just sit there and do it. Because one, I'm fucking really good at it. Not to brag or anything, but I run up the points, let's just say. And it's just cool. Like, just sit there and fucking chat with you guys and hit tennis balls. I don't fucking know. So I think today I'm going to hop on a little Madden 03 as well on my PS2. Mainly because I believe that was, let's see here. What was hey Siri, what was Tom Brady's first Super Bowl?
One moment. Here's an answer from Parade.com. In 2002, Brady led the Patriots to their very first Super Bowl.
Let's see. So I knew Brady went to the Super Bowl as the Patriots' first Super Bowl in 2002, and they won it. But I wasn't sure. So in 2003, that was the one between the Patriots and the Rams, and I'm not sure, did the Patriots win that one? Or is it the next one? Okay, so Patriots, and I always forget this because usually how sports games work is the default teams that always are up whenever you first start a sports game is always going to be the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year or in the championship last year. So in that particular Madden, and I guess I should have thought, so the 2002 Super Bowl where the Patriots won their first one and Brady won his first one was the one against the Rams. So it just so happens that Madden 03 was my Madden that I played growing up. It was one of the first video games I ever played. Now I had it on the computer, not the PS2, but I have it on the PS2 now. So I thought what I might do, I'm a Panther fan, and for what that's worth right now. Don't worry. Don't you worry. I love being at this point, with a sports team when it's just garbage, rotten bottom. Everybody's chirping. Everybody's talking about what a disgrace and disappointment it would be to be a Panthers fan right now. Oh, unfortunately, it's all right. It's my favorite time because you find out who the true fans are and who the bandwagon fans are. So anyway, getting off that one. But yeah, so it was the Madden following Brady's first Super Bowl. Who obviously retired and confirmed it yesterday. We'll get into some of that one probably on the next episode, maybe tomorrow. We'll go full on football since we went full on Star Wars today. But yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, so I'm probably gonna do a good amount of Star Wars gameplay today, and gonna play some Madden 2003 on the PS2 as well. So 2:00 over on my Twitch, thereabout. You can catch us. So. Till then, until in the next episode, my name is Will Dalton, a.k.a. Wilbur and Gold. We'll catch you next time.